So straight off the bat, this video is going to contain spoilers for the new Game of Thrones spin-off and Night of the Seven Kingdoms / Dunk and Egg. If you're okay with spoilers, stay. If you're not, now's the time to scroll on. So the question is, can I explain how Aegon became king instead of Aemon at the Wall? How does it all tie together? Because, yeah, they are brothers. They're younger brothers. It's a bit of a funny and kind of, I guess, convoluted story. It all starts with their father, Micah. The funny thing with Micah, though, is that he was never really meant to be king himself. He was the youngest of 4 brothers. He had 3 older brothers who were there, ready and waiting to inherit from their father, King Daeron II of House Targaryen. I just want to reiterate, we're getting into spoiler territory big time. So, like, if you're still here and then... I don't want people in the comments being like, oh, thanks for ruining it. I'm giving a spoiler warning well in advance. Twice. The 4 sons are Baelor, Aerys, Rhaegal, and then Micah. Baelor dies before his father does, so Baelor's out of the picture. As the second eldest, Aerys inherited the throne and he became King Aerys I of House Targaryen. But Aerys did not have any heirs of his own, and during his reign, Rhaegal dies, so that the only brother left after Aerys is Micah. So it's through this chain of unusual circumstances, this just fate happening, that Micah winds up being king. He never thought that that was going to be his destiny. So he's king and he has 6 children of his own, 4 sons and 2 daughters. So with having 4 sons, he's like, yeah, I'm covered. He's like, I've got an heir and I've got 3 spares. Sometimes you're only lucky to have an heir. You don't even get spares. Micah had 3 spare sons. Some of his sons had sons of their own. So there was a lot of Targaryen men around at this time. And that is the reason why Maester Aemon actually joins the Citadel. It's almost like there's just too many Targaryens and we need to filter everyone out a little bit. So that is why Aemon was at the Citadel and became a Maester in the first place. But then his father became king and everything kind of changed. But it's almost too late for Aemon. He'd already committed himself to being a Maester. So when his father does die, there are 2 sons left and there are problems with both of them, Aemon and Egg/Aegon. The problem with Aemon is obviously him being attached to the Citadel. He's already sworn vows and it doesn't look good for a king to go back on his word. You can't turn around and say, oh, yeah, I know I gave those vows and I promised that I would serve as a Maester, do my duty to the realm, but I've got a better offer. I've got the chance to sit on the Iron Throne. You can't do that because nobody would then trust your word as king because you've already gone back on your word to the Citadel. So if Aemon was to become king, because he was the older of the 2 brothers that were left, it was still complicated. There were still problems. And then you've got Egg. And some people didn't want him to become king either because Egg fraternized a little too much with the common folk. It's because of his connection with Sir Duncan the Tall and these adventures they go on throughout the realm. That is what endears Egg to the small folk because he's part of them. He doesn't have the trappings of House Targaryen. He is literally living like a regular person, sometimes sleeping rough out under the stars, sometimes doing that a lot. He's not living in this like bougie palace. He sees the regular people. He sees them every day. He sees the struggles. And so he understands that more. And that would inform what kind of king he would be. And if you're a noble, you don't like that, because you don't want a king who's a little too generous to the small folk. Everybody who's in the nobility, I mean, they might put on a bit of a, oh yes, we all do our bit for charity, but low-key, they want a king that will put them and the other great houses first. And if Egg has this propensity to side with the small folk and try and uplift the small folk, try and help the small folk to better their lives, who's going to pay for that? It's probably going to come out of the pockets of the nobles. So Aemon and Egg, neither one of them was ideal, but they were both sons of King Micah and it had to be one of them. And this is where Aemon makes his move. He basically takes himself out of the running. He says, you know what, I don't want it. I'm going to go and join the Night's Watch and swear more vows to them. So he goes to the wall and he's going to serve as a brother in the Night's Watch and still as a maester. This was Maester Aemon separating himself from the Iron Throne as much as he physically could. He was making it crystal clear, I don't want it. And I don't want anybody rallying behind my name. I don't want anybody using me to challenge Egg. I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to step aside. I'm going to do my duty. I'm going to serve in a different way. I'm going to let Egg take this one because I think he'll do a good job. Because they were the younger brothers, I do think they were pretty close. And there's a lot of affection. And we see Maester Aemon as a very old man, thinking back, saying Egg's name out loud. That's who's in his mind in his dying days. And what Maester Aemon did, he made it so clear, crystal clear. Absolutely, I don't want the Iron Throne, and don't try and take it in my name. And it's why someone like Robert Baratheon, who was hunting down Targaryens, he let Maester Aemon be, because everyone knew Aemon didn't want the throne and he was not going to challenge anyone for it. He was going to stay at the wall. And he proves that when House Targaryen needs him, he doesn't come running because he has to separate himself from his family. He's doing it for the family. He's doing it for his brother so that Aegon's reign is secure, because the Targaryens had recently been through many rebellions by the Blackfyres, a bastard branch of their own house. So Aemon knew very well, all too well, that Aegon needed his reign to be secure, and the best way to ensure that is to take himself out of the running and make it obvious, I don't want it. Even if Aegon had needed him, Aemon couldn't. I mean, you're allowed to visit occasionally, like on official business and stuff, but he couldn't just be popping to King's Landing every 5 minutes. He had to leave Aegon and let him bloom, let him grow, let him flourish, let him be the king that he believes he could be. But if his brother is going through any difficulties, Aemon can't help him, because if he goes to him, then that blurs the lines, and he's worked so hard to keep everything separate because he's doing all this for his brother and for his house. This is to secure the future of House Targaryen. When I say Maester Aemon is the realest one, I mean, it's why he gets the good karma of living to the age he lives at, because he's not a threat and he just does the job at hand. He keeps his head down, he's wise, he helps people, and he doesn't want the Iron Throne. And he did all this for his brother. Talk about taking one for the team.